All right, there we go. Great. Welcome, everybody, to our June ADK community call. Very excited to have you all here. As always, we've got a lot of great content for you today. As we're going through, please feel free to drop your info, say hello in the chat, let us know where you're coming in from, and let us know what you're going to be building with. What are you using ADK or agents for? As we're going through this, we're going to have a lot of links. We'll be sharing out the deck later after the call. We'll also have the video that will be posted onto YouTube. And we'll also put an update on the subreddit, our Reddit community, the r/agent development kit community. So we'll have stuff on there. And as we're going, we're going to do the polls a little bit different this time. So we'll be going through our usual what's new in ADK and agents world. We're going to do ADK in action. We've got a great community spotlight for you today, and then Q&A and poll results. We have the poll actually open now, so if you need to hop out early for any reason, please just hop in and answer those poll questions for us. It's really valuable information for us. It's going to help shape these meetings for us as far as what content we're including for you as we move forward. So love to have that on there. And then if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We have a pretty tight schedule today, so I don't know if we can do a ton of questions live throughout the meeting, so we try and hold the questions until the end. But if you have questions as someone's presenting, please drop them in the chat. We've got a lot of experts in the room who can help answer those as we go. And if we can't get to any of the questions today, we are collecting them and trying to make sure that we can get that information out to you across all of the various channels. And with that, I think we're going to move on to what's new, and I'm going to pass it over to Magic.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Maciej. I'm the tech lead for ADK in Go, Java, and Kotlin languages. And for the next few minutes, I wanted to walk you through the ADK across these languages, what we shipped, what is coming, and in more general, why we are investing in those specific languages. Of course, Python is the front door for the most of this community, but just to raise the awareness that we support more languages, just in case your production stack is not Python oriented. So in general, ADK is a single product. So all the concepts like agent, tool model, session abstractions, and so on are the same across every language. We want the ADKs to be idiomatic. So Python looks Pythonic, Java looks like you would expect from the JVM library. We are working with the Go team to make sure that Go library looks native, and the same for Kotlin. So the bottom line is that the concept of the ADKs are the same, and it's easy to transfer to other languages, and you can pick the language depending on your production stack. We, as Google, are committed to bring feature parity across all of the supported languages. All right. How can I navigate the slides? Can I navigate slides? All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. All right. So let's start with Golang. Golang is interesting because there is huge opportunity for Google because the language is managed by Google, and we also want to help position Golang as a like an optimized language for AI workloads. So there is a lot of benefits when it comes to leveraging this asset. Apart from that, Go is compiled, so it's known for its high performance, for low latency. It performs better compared to Python, for instance, and it's easy to learn, easy to adopt, and it's a good fit for cloud native agent services when you need small binaries and fast cold starts. It's easy to containerize. So if you're using Cloud Run Kubernetes, ADK Go is a good fit, and it's also like the most mature non-Python implementation we have today, and I will explain more in a second. Let me change the slide. Yeah. So where exactly we are with Golang, we released 0.1 version November last year. By the end of March, we had a stable 1.0 release. And by the end of this month, we are targeting 2.0 release. Those versioning and those versions are not an accident. Behind every major release, there is a particular feature set that we need to support. So we know that with like V1 of ADK Go, everything that all the major features that were present in Python in V1 are there as well. And the same applies for second major release. So workflow agents, like collaborative agents, live API, all of this will be part of V2 release. All the development is happening on GitHub, so it's public. We have a V2 branch that is accessible, and you can test it out. And as I said, we are wrapping up the release. The plan is to get it done next week. All right. Next one. Java. All right. So Java. The reason why we started to work with Java is that most enterprises are relying on JVM server side, and having an agent SDK in the same language was we felt that there's a productivity win. Currently, Java is in a stable release, 1.x. I will show the slide with the releases afterwards. I have something to do. Maybe I will cover this in a Kotlin section because Java and Kotlin are going to coexist, and I will explain in a second why and how. So just briefly, as I said, ADK Java was released May last year. Now it's at stable 1.x release, 1.5, I think. And by the end of this year, we plan to get it to 2.0 as well, feature set, the same as Golang and Python. All right. And that gets us to Kotlin. Kotlin is like the successor of Java, but we will keep Java as a wrapper around Kotlin core. The reason why we started working with Kotlin was the advancements of on-device models, and we wanted to bring first-class on-device AI to the community. We are working with the Android team so that you can build agents totally running on the device, right? You don't need to access the model in cloud. You can use Gemini Nano models, and you can build completely offline agents with it. And our plan is to get ADK Kotlin to 2.0 release this year as well, and also start reusing Kotlin in Java, and Java will get to 2.0 release as well with it. But so effectively, we will have a single core, and both ADKs will be benefiting from it. So just to give you a context, this is the latest ADK that we added to the family. It was released at Google I/O this year. By the end of Q3, we are targeting a stable 1.0 release with 1.0 feature set, and by the end of this year, this will get to 2.0. And I also have a demo. Like ADK Kotlin was announced on Google I/O, and I'm not sure if we have time. Maybe Tony can tell me.
Yeah, we have a few minutes. Go for it.
Yeah, I have like 2 minutes. We can play. Maybe can I click play? Not really. I don't know how to do it. Tony, can you help me with and play the demo? Yeah, thanks.
So let's see if we can build an agentic system that hosts multiple agents that all communicate with each other, orchestrated from within our Android app. Let's switch to our app and quickly show it in action, hoping that the Wi-Fi is fixed by this point. So I'll turn the feature on. This is called the Genius Assistant, and our Genius Assistant is going to help us during our trip to understand what's going on. Now, it will first go to our cloud, and it will go and try to understand what's going on in the trip. So it passes the itinerary, and then it understands that I have a hotel and a car reservation. So let me check my hotel reservation. What it will do is it will actually understand that there's multiple agents running, and it can understand that it can transfer to our hotel agent. Now, our hotel agent is a sub-agent that runs on device, because I have my personal data running on my device as well. So I have some personal information here. I have my passport and I have the hotel reservation, and the model will actually compare the two. So here there's multiple agents running, and I'll show you later how this is set up. But this is pretty cool, and we have a way to understand that for my hotel reservation, actually I provided the wrong passport number. So there's a lot going on here, and I'll show you how that actually works. So let's go back to the slides and dive into it. So one way of doing this on Android is using ADK for Android.
I think this is where I cut it. Later, Yolanda explains how she built an ADK agent in Kotlin, and it is running on the device, and it's using on the device models. Yep, so feel free to watch the whole presentation if you are curious. The links to ADK repositories are included as well, and yeah, feel free to ask me if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to hand it over to Alan here. I'm going to actually, oops, sorry, let me see if to exit out of this for a second.
Yeah, sorry, we had a last-minute slide polish come up. And actually, Himanshu, are you here? He may not have made it. He's the engineer that actually did this integration, and we're just doing a brief shout out for it. It is the cloud storage native integration that he's very happy with. This was one that I was a little bit involved in the discussion of, should we do this at all? Should we do a cloud storage native integration in ADK as opposed to just relying on an MCP server? We decided to do so, and here's the reasons why. There's a more complicated set of auth that is possible, and then there's a few constraints with the MCP server implementation that you can work around. That's really what it comes down to. Easier auth and more capability with a few constraints that you are no longer have to work around. So if you are building an ADK agent, and if you would like to work with the cloud storage buckets, objects, and in this case, folders and caches that you can't get to through the MCP server, you have an alternative to using an MCP server. I'm not telling you to switch. If you're happy with the MCP server or you're happy with any other integration that you already have, keep using it. This is giving you more optionality written by the cloud storage team. So that's it. This is just a quick heads up. We have a new integration from the cloud storage team. They're happy about it, and they want you to play with it and give us feedback if you have anything. It's really a quick shout out. Of course, tools for the users of the storage objects, but also tools for the admin of the bucket. So depending on what type of agent you're building. There you go. Quick shout out.
All right. Now we're going to go on to environments. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Xuan from the ADK Python team. Today I'll talk about the ADK new feature, which is the environment. So the environment is a new execution layer where agent can run code and perform file IOs. So the benefit is that we can separate the agent runtime with the actual tool or action execution runtime. So we can think of we isolate the brain of the agent with the hands of the agent into different runtime. So the environment provides 3 low-level API to help us achieve that. The first one is to execute the shell commands in the working directory, and then the second one is to read file from the environment file system. The third one is to write file. So ADK will support multiple different backends to use as the environment. Currently, we support 2, which is local and the E2B sandbox. So the difference is for the local environment, it runs on your agent host machine using Python subprocessors. So it's fast to start up and there's no internet delay. So it has full access to your local environment, which is why we say it's best for you to use it for development and debugging. On the other hand, E2B sandbox is a isolated cloud environment virtual machine. So it's safe for you to run untrusted code. And the environment itself is temporary. It has internet access and it allows you to install packages you need to finish the work. So it's best used for autonomous agent runs so that the agent do its stuff itself and finish the work. So how it works with ADK agent is done through the new environment toolset. So this new toolset translates the environment capability into execute read file, write file, edit file tools for the agent to use. In case you wonder the difference between read file and edit file, is actually very simple. Read file is for the agent to write the new file, whole file. And the edit file is for the agent to edit some existing file. It can only modify a small piece of the code for debugging without touching the other piece of the code. It can save tokens and also avoid modifying something you don't want to modify. And the toolset also help you to inject some basic system instruction to help the LLM understand how to use the environment, and also help you manage in the life cycle of the resource. For example, it will initialize the sandbox on startup and also keep the sandbox alive if the agent is being used, and also clean up after close. So how to use the environment is actually very simple. You just define the agent as your, and you just need to provide the environment toolset as a tool to the agent. You probably want to add some instruction for the agent to use the environment. So here is a quick demo for the usage. Can you help play the video? maybe full screen. Okay, so this is sample agent. So for example, here we ask the agent to download some data set and analyze the population. You can see the agent start to write some code, and it also knows to install the pandas package, run the script, and it can write as many as script it needs to finish the work. So after the execution, it will present you the final results. And also, as mentioned before, ADK toolset will keep the sandbox alive within the timeout. So if you have follow-up questions, it will land on the same sandbox instance. And then, so you can save some time, for example, install the package you already installed. Okay, that's it. And one last thing is this new feature is still new and experimental. We are keep adding new features to it. So please let us know any feature requests you need and what works best for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, and then with that, we're going to move on to ADK in action. So Pierre, let me get you added on here.
Hello.
Are you here? Oh, there you are.
Hello, everyone. Pierre here, and I'm one of the people that started the driving of Agent CLI initiative a couple of months ago when we announced it at Google Cloud Next. And we're now coming a long way from since then, and we're getting closer to our 1.0 release. So we wanted to give you a bit more of a background about what we have been working on over the last few weeks and what we're planning to release soon to each of you. So hopefully quite a few of you will be familiar with Agent CLI. If not, I'm gonna now drop a link in the chat as well for context. But Agent CLI is the CLI for the agent platform. And the whole idea about it is that using it, we are trying to make it as easy as possible for agents and humans to develop on the agent platform on Google Cloud. So there are many services that agents can interact with across the platform, and all of these ones were designed to be separated between each other, but at the same time also connected, and the humans were the glue between them. And now we want to make a sort of a glue also for agents to make it easy for them to navigate all the different services and do that as efficiently as possible. So if you go now to Anti-Gravity CLI, Cloud Code, or any coding assistant of your tool or your choice, they are quite good to get things done, but at the same time, they at times struggle to get it done fast or done with the best practices. And Agent CLI aims to bridge both gaps. So handing over to your coding agents superpowers to know everything about how to best develop and do an agent development lifecycle on GCP, and guided them through the whole path with the best practices that we at Google will learn through skills and a CLI commands that makes this execution very, let's say, brief and concise to the point. So over the last few weeks, we have been working on a few things. So agent registry, A2 UI, and Windows support have been two big things that we've been working on. So for example, with Windows, we had a few issues with making run work or allowing origins, but this should be fixed now. Also, the machine types deploy flags is something that we've been working on, so to give sizing parameters for agent runtime and cloud run. And the important thing was the resume command to make it easier for improving the agent experience to interact with that. And the project resolution refactoring was another important point. And finally, at the moment, we support GE as one of the main publishing destinations for the CLI, and we support now also idempotent updates so that these updates can happen in place without any destructive action. And coming this week, the main things that are coming up is the reshaping of agent runtime. So agent runtime has been going through some very cool, interesting updates, and we're porting them over now in Agent CLI. So the main one is going to be support for container-based deployment. And that gives you loads of flexibility in the type of deployment you want to do. And it comes with pre-built A2A support so that natively every agent that you deploy through there can be talking through A2A with other agents. Then also fast API, customization of routes, that always another important thing. And ultimately faster deployment time, which is a very nice, let's say, addition of the whole refactoring here. And for our 1.0 release, this is expected currently for mid-July. And two main things that are going to come out of it is going to be plugins. So plugins is a way for each of you to customize the experience of using Agent CLI. So right now, we can, when you install Agent CLI, you have your coding agent that could be anti-gravity CLI, Cloud Code, and so on. You install Agent CLI, and this gives superpower to these agents. But at the same time, the CLI itself is fixed, so it comes, let's say, predefined for you. The skills, on the other hand, they are flexible and they are editable, so they're stored locally, and you can edit them as you wish. But this is quite manual as a process. So with plugins, we are giving and creating a new layer of abstraction on how to make it even easier to customize your experience using Agent CLI for your specific needs. And this can be useful for both enterprises and solo developers, because each of us can have different flows or different preferences or constraints, let's say, and might not just want to follow Google best practices. And especially for enterprises, you might have VCP, let's say, constraints, or other type of organization constraints that don't, for example, some services might not be enabled in your org or anything like that. And using plugins, then you make it easy to just customize the experience with a CLI there. Other important point is receipt. So these are set of specialized pre-made agents that are designed to extend the capabilities of coding agents via samples. And for that, we are, so in some stable form, we also have some support for them right now, but we are expanding them to give some very cool, very big, let's say, coding agents examples that can superpower your agent even more for some areas we saw that people are struggling most with agent development on Google Cloud. And finally, later on down the line, with the 1.0, we're also looking to add agent identity, faster eval, agent registry. These are all things that are all under our radar to be integrated out of the box. And that's all on my side. I will be available in chat, so feel free to just keep sending more and more questions, and I will have a look.
All right. Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to hand it off to Danny for the Agent Eval CLI demo.
Thank you, Tony. Very nice to meet you all. I'm Danny. I'm recently joined the incubation team. I have been working with them for a year. I was previously part of the Google Cloud consulting team, only supporting customers, integrate a lot of agentic applications. Eval was always a topic. That's why we are here today. But I'm now an incubation engineer, and what we basically do is be the bridge between everybody that's using the Google products, all the developers or customers using Google products, and the product team. So it's an interesting role. So just a TLDR of what the Agent Eval I'm going to present is. It's basically an opinionated evaluation CLI. I'm going to tell a little bit more about the differences between the Agent CLI and Agent Eval in a bit. But this is a super opinionated workflow to evaluate agents using the agent platform or Vertex AI. You can actually, it's an open source tool, so that you can go to this link and start using it as of today. I'm going to explain the why behind this and how does it work a little bit. So why evals, or why did we chose this topic? We all know that it's super important. I really like this tweet from Logan. It's from back in January 2025. So we've known for a while that evals are important. But he says, at the end of the day, evals are all you need. The sooner you realize this, the better your model, agent, product company will be. If we think of it in the agent development life cycle, evals are actually, whenever you build a model, evals are what allow you to either deploy a model with confidence or go back to the development process so that you can keep optimizing your model building, and then evaluate it again. The idea of having good evals is that instead of vibing your way through the development of the agent and deploying and sensing how does the users feel, the developers feel, evals should allow you to go through this process scientifically. We really like this concept of the scientific hypothesis loop of you're building based on hypotheses that may come from design patterns, architecture patterns, frameworks, best practices that are out there. But instead of just relying on those best practices, you actually evaluate how they interact with your specific use case and agent, and have numbers to see if you are willing to deploy those changes or go back and building and fixing again. So the problem with that is that for building and for deploying, we have a bunch of now very... Oh, sorry, Anil. There's someone with the mic open. Oh yeah, thank you, Anil. But yeah, like just the problem with this is that we have a lot of tools for building and deploying agents, very streamlined patterns. The thing is that for evals, nobody tells us like how exactly we should be doing it. There is amazing tools out there, but there's not like a very defined path of how to evaluate our agents. So that's why, or that's the reason why we developed the Agent Eval. Actually, our biggest inspiration was what's the antecessor of Agent CLI, that is the Agent Starter Pack. We had the same exact problem. We had amazing tools to deploy and scaffold like agents, but we didn't have like an opinionated path to do it. So that's why we also try to create the same experience with Agent Eval. So the thing is that what we did is like just a product that can support you in this evaluation process. We try to make it as easy as possible. So if you see, it has like evolved a lot. Initially, we just like had the scripts to run evals with Vertex AI products. Right now, we have 3 major commands that have a lot of other underlying commands to set up everything necessary regarding GCP projects, locations, environment variables, then scaffolding your evaluation, what's needed. You don't only need to be able to run evaluation, but if you've been developing evals for agents, a big question is what data I'm going to use, which metrics are going to be helpful for me to evaluate my model, and things that probably rely a lot on the expertise that you may have on the agent, not necessarily the tools that you have to evaluate. So that's why we created the init. I'm going to show it in a bit. And then the run, that is the actual running of the interactions, collecting the data, scoring, and then the analysis that allows you to close the loop again. And call out that I want to do, or that I want to make in here, is that we didn't rewrite evaluations. The only thing that we did is take the primitives, like take the best products out there, telemetry practices, ADK, Vertex AI. And so the thing that we did is like this shell around those products so that it's easier to use them instead of building it by yourselves and getting started from scratch. And this is like just how it all started with the run, that it's running interactions, running evaluation, analyzing results, but now it has evolved to so much more. So I'm gonna showcase a little bit of the experience right now in my. Can I share my screen, Tony?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Okay, sounds good. But just for you to know, like this is an open source tool. As I mentioned, it's part of now of the professional services repository. So it's super easy to get started, like literally very easy. This is the only commands that you need to get it running. Like Agent Eval setup, Agent Eval init, and Agent Eval run. So I'm gonna share my screen so that you can see how that experience looks like. Perfect. So you should be able to see my VS Code now. So what I want to show you is, I really try to make it like as similar as what the experience you'll have by using this. So what I did is just from scratch, like download the repository. And one of the things is that this is a very big repository. We know that. Eventually, we are in plans. I can like give you like a little sneak peek, but we have plans to make it its own tool. But right now, as it's part of a major repository, it's very heavy. So what I did, it's also adds a batch script so that you can convert this into a wheel that you can install as a package in your development environment. So in here, you're gonna see this folder, and there's this process so that you can create the wheel of the package and just install it in your environment. That's what I did. So in here, for example, I have a bunch of different agents. It's just the agents from the ADK samples. And the beauty of the agent Eval is that you can get started super easily by just simply running the init command. What this will do is analyze your repository, your code base, and see if you have any, in this case, ADK agents available. We're trying to make it, or one of our major objectives is making it a framework agnostic so that it could be used with other agents, not only ADK. Like the core of the product is the Vertex AI Eval service. But it's good that we're on the ADK community call because you're all ADK developers, so you're gonna find it useful. So in here, you can see that the thing that it did is like just check that I had already set up my environment, I have the APIs enabled, I have my project, blah, blah, blah. And in here, you can see how it already identified that I have a bunch of agents in this directory. So I can tell it, for example, which agent do I want to scaffold evaluation for? Init is for scaffolding evaluation. So I'm going to use this one because I know that it's very simple. I have a more complex example that I'm going to show in a bit. But if you go to like the agent that you want to evaluate, you're going to start this process of understanding how evals are done and scaffolding the data set and the metrics that you're going to use for evaluation. This is a tool from developers to developers. So you're going to see a lot of different explanations of what is happening behind it. Even the different calls that we're doing to the Vertex APIs to make this happen. So if you go over this like on your free time, you're going to see that also you are going to learn a little bit about evaluation and how to do it with Vertex AI products. So in here, two things. We use user simulations, that it's an ADK service for multi-turn scenarios, but also have single-turn scenarios that probably are a little bit faster and could even be done remotely. The idea is that we will modify this to not be only ADK enabled, but also use the user simulations that we have available in Vertex 2. We are actively working on this because, like, literally this is what we do with customers. So instead of going and implementing anything from scratch, we have this baseline and we start building on top of this. So as you can see, I can pick this. What this does is going over the process of going over to Vertex, saying, okay, you have all of these things available that you can choose out of the box, right? These are metrics that are managed metrics in the Vertex AI service. So you can go in here and choose, okay, I want multi-turn chat quality, whatever metric you want to choose. And then you can also tell your agent what you want to focus on. In here, I want a grounded agent. So you can write a Bible here, you can write a lot of things. The idea is that you can also guide the custom metrics and the data that is going to be generated to evaluate your agent. So in this case, I'm just going to generate one metric. So I'm going to have the couple that I selected, managed metrics, and one generated metric. The thing that we're doing in here is we already know what's the expected input for the Vertex AI API. What we are trying to do is making it easy for the developer to create those metrics, and then we do the translation to send it to Vertex and get back the results. So in here, you can see that it's analyzing the source code, and it's so that it can give me an assessment of which metrics and which data I could use to evaluate this agent. I already ran this for another agent of the ADK samples. You can see the financial advisor. So if you go to tests, you're gonna see that we have the metrics in here. This is basically how the metrics look like. You can modify this and then run the checks to see that if it's like appropriate for what the schema expects. So in here, you can see that for this financial advisor, this is like a long workflow, multi-step agent. So I really wanted to run the CLI tool like with this specific use case, because sometimes examples that we find are very vanilla. So in this case, I really wanted to test like a real world scenario agent. So you can see I selected a couple of managed metrics. And then I also created with Gemini like this format quality metric and UX to see this is a custom metric. It has like rating scores of pass and fail. It has certain criterias, and then it maps to the data that I have available specifically for my agent. One of the major things that we have in here is that we use state variables. We extract state variables from the ADK agent in specific points in the code so that we can use it for evaluation. If you go over the init process, it's going to explain a little bit more the why and how to do that. So in here, you can see this, and then you can also see that it generated 3 multi-turn samples and then other 3 single-turn samples so that I could run evaluation. So I actually ran a baseline, and while I was waiting in here for my turn, I was running another run of evaluation. So in here, I'm just gonna say it already ran. So after running, it's important that we do like an analysis. Run involves running the interactions for the agent, evaluating, so getting the raw numbers that I'm gonna show, and then also analyzing the results. So the thing that I did is run the evaluations. I saw that latency was very high. I'm going to show you, but I want to ask if in this new iteration, if the latency improved, and if there are any regressions. So I can make my analysis focus on this specifically. And while this runs, I'm going to quickly just finish this one. You can see how I will not have time to go over all the experience, but I really suggest you to just go over this with one sample agent, or even as I did, just take one of the agents from the ADK samples and try to do this on your own. In here, for example, after scaffolding, the next step is running your actual evaluation process. So you can see here that once I have the data, once I have the metrics, I can actually run Eval. In this case, I was running Eval for the financial advisor. Does it work with A2A? It's in the plans. It's in the plan so that it works with A2A. But we are also fixing some things so that it works specifically with agent runtime. So you can do it locally as we're doing it right now, but also running with agent runtime evaluations directly. So in here, you can see how the run starts, simulation starts, interaction starts, and at the end of the results, you can have in here results, baseline. I have the raw results, like this is what originally we received. You can have token usage, latency, cache efficiency, your actual metric, responses. So the thing in here is that we also added the Gemini analysis that goes over this, goes over your source code and sees what could be improved. In here is where I saw that the latency was not that good, so that I could improve my agent, modifying it from an LLM agent to a sequential agent. So it has a little bit of what next, like what are the next steps if I want to improve the agent. Tony, yes, we're on time.
Yeah, we're out of time, unfortunately. I just want to make sure that we have time for our community spotlight. So this is amazing. Thank you so much. I think this is definitely, there's a lot to cover there. So hopefully maybe we can do another session in the next community call to cover this, because I think there's a lot of great information.
Thank you, Tony. And please reach out if you want to learn anything more. This is just another level of how to do evals. And right now it works with ADK, but we have the plans to do it with other agents too. Reach out. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much, Danny. We really appreciate it. That was fantastic. And I think, it seems like everybody really enjoyed it. So thank you. All right, we're going to do a quick Kaggle wrap up, and then we're going to move on to the community call. So for those of you who weren't aware, we just wrapped up last week the 5-day AI Agents Intensive Vibe Coding course with Google and Kaggle. There's a lot of white papers available. There were white papers available for each day of the event. We also have 2 code labs that we release for each day of the event, walking through using anti-gravity, AI Studio, ADK, Agent CLI, working with MCP servers, how to manage your agent lifecycle throughout all of these things, how to secure your agents using test-driven development, and then also how to deploy your agents. So there's a lot of information on here. The links are all on this slide. So when we get this shared out, you can look at that. There's also live streams. There were Q&As with a lot of the folks who wrote the white papers, and then there's demo presentations of the code labs every day. There's also a very busy Discord server that has a lot of the discussions on this, so if you get a chance, check that out. And I just wanted to highlight this because this part is still going on. There is a Capstone project happening, so it opened last Friday, but it's still going on. You have until July 6th. And basically, you can go through this and you design your own agent, and then you submit this. There's some requirements for the submission as far as a write-up, video explanation, kind of a walkthrough explanation of your agent on the video. Why did you build this agent? You know, what is the purpose of it? Is it for business? Is it for pleasure? You know, whatever you're looking at on that. And then just a link to your code. The presenter or the winners are going to receive Kaggle swag and shout outs on our social media channels. So just wanted to give that shout out to everybody here and an opportunity if you have a chance or you want to do that. And with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Alan for our community spotlight.
And actually, this is going to be a very short intro, and I'm going to hand it over to Victor. So if you happen to be on the community call last month, Victor commented in chat a couple of times, we really need a taxonomy thing. He and I talked about it a little bit afterwards. He did a bunch of cool work in prototyping, and then he's created a plugin. So I'm actually going to hand it over to Victor to show us all about it.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
Let's see if we can get you on there. There we go. You should be able to present now.
Mm-hmm.
You have presentation access now, Victor?
Yep. Can you see it?
Sure.
Looks good.
Yeah, so I will do it this way. So we implemented taxonomy. So what taxonomy is about? Sometimes there are certain cases where our agents do not follow certain steps or do not give us outcomes that we want. What happens under the hood? Sometimes it's an issue of a prompt. Sometimes it's an issue of a tool description. Why it's important? Because LLMs inherently lazy, and even tool description can produce lower results. And we also might deal with biology. We might deal another day with coding, and it's always changing phenomenon. So as a result, another problem appeared that developers were often struggling. As someone, I also did use Python, Google ADK in the past, and there were some overheads. They were fixed, but I also kept it in mind. And I was asking myself how to approach all of that together. So as a result, architecture of whole entire taxonomy is that we have a JSON format. How it would look like something like this. Why JSON format? Why this and not something else? Well, in production, we probably use AlloyDB if you use Google, or we use something similar to that. So our JSON communication is golden standard. So that's our initial step. But that's not over because we might have different users. We might have different roles, features, entitlements. And we want our agents reflect that behavior. So this where taxonomy coming in already. So now we can dynamically mutate prompts and dynamically mutate description based on classification. So let's say we have ID, and we also have a parent ID. And by the way, we can have those parents IDs as much as we want. We dynamically trigger them and mutate the prompts to get us better results and better outputs. So then we also have a policy, and of course it's baked into Google ADK itself. Now, more information can be seen here. Now, to test it, data set itself quite naive. And it was made for the purpose of reflecting one of the features of taxonomy. So sometimes we might have a prompt quite long, that prompt or instruction triggered quite often. And sometimes we might not want our LLM even to consider, think, or read that information, because now we might have some noise, potential hallucination as a result of it. We all know it, right? We write in the JSON, hey, make sure that this data point is always there, and it's always hallucinated as a result, right? So to avoid that, taxonomy can be used. Now, 100% extraction match accuracy, take it with a grain of salt. What does it mean? It means on our data set, we got 100% improvement, and match is pretty much our system works. So our results, because we were looking toward only token consumption, what we got? So for so if we have a normal instruction, and we have in that instruction 117 tokens. Well, if you use a dynamic mutation and taxonomy itself, we don't even need more than half of that instruction. So now we have 46 tokens consumed. Sometimes we need the financial audit. We need to add a little bit more information, but we don't want it to know something else about it, right? So we have 84. Or it can be a mix of everything. And in this case, we actually want to implement more features. We want to let our model know more about what we're doing. And this can be applied to a lot of things. The way how this taxonomy build, it also can be applied to agent communication. It can be applied if you have multiple agents. You can trigger them and mutate your prompts and instructions. So let's say you have agent 1 talking with agent 2. They communicate between each other. You have agent-to-agent protocol, but you have a taxonomy. But the whole point of this taxonomy, you don't even need to have one taxonomy. You can have multiple taxonomies and multiple different systems. So now, agent to agent, it triggers taxonomy. You change prompt for the following agent, so it can follow through an ID itself. There are some edge cases, and there's probably more to talk about it, but we try to focus on a higher level so everyone understand what's going on instead of technical problem. Now, dataset and Python file that we used can be found in description. We will share it. And of course, white matters, as we already discussed. Part of it reduce prompt bloats, and as a result, decrease the noise itself, and arguably hallucination, because let's be honest, if we will talk about code and someone else talk about cooking, inherently one of us will misunderstand something. Similar with AI and LLMs. Less is more sometimes. Then also keep tools exposure deterministic under taxonomy control. What does it mean? Let's say we have we coding, and we want to explore certain files, and we know that right now we're dealing with a class, and we want to quadruple check that dependencies inside of the class not involved somewhere else. So then that's where description is important. It reduces laziness of LLM. We also can mutate skills as a result, because again, it's a mutable part, increase control over outputs. What does it mean? If we give tailored parts of a prompt for certain cases, we inherently will get a more desired output. To the degree can provide a context deterministically, to the degree again, you can build on certain features. For example, if this taxonomy triggered, we can add some knowledge base, knowledge graph, or we may not add. It's up to you. And it doesn't take LLM thinking itself, because we still have a prompt, we still have description, we still control a little bit more quantitatively agent-to-agent communications, and this is it. Now, if I didn't know about agent eval, but I'm pretty sure you, even in the future, you will be able to test your taxonomy and agent eval together to make sure that your system work accordingly. I also want to say thank you to Alan a lot. If if you didn't talk with Alan, this would never happen. I was, yeah. Shout out to Alan.
I think that this is a step on a very good journey. Expect to see more stuff from me because I'm starting to really crystallize where I think we're going with message passing and schemas and taxonomy and thus policy implementations. A lot of what we're doing with agents is going to end up moving down that path. I encourage you to play with this plugin and maybe contribute to it. I will be playing with it as well. There's something powerful in this. We have actually found it in the agent CLI. Those skills are pretty heavily evaluated and hill climbed, and giving the model the definition of what it's trying to work on and then the skill goes a long way towards token reduction and efficacy and next steps. So taxonomy is a flavor of skills, and I think it's going to work pretty well. So yeah, anyway, great project. Thank you for volunteering to contribute it and then come talk about it. This is exactly the type of community engagement we like to see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor. All right. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time for Q&A today, but we do have some amazing experts in the room, so I think we can try and hit at least one of the questions on there. Before we dive into this, I just want to give a shout out again. We do have the Q&A polls on here. We take notes on all of this, so even if we can't get to your question today, throw it in the chat. We're going to be posting the answers to the questions onto our Reddit community after this. And also, just as a shout out for next month's community call, we'll be posting a call out on the Reddit channel ahead of time. So if there are questions that you have that you would like to try for us to try and answer ahead of time, post them on there so that way that gives the team time. Even if we can't do it live, we can potentially just drop the answer in the chat for you, and then we can share that information out with the community to make it easier for everybody. And yes, we will throw the link on the channel there. So and with that, sorry. Oh, and we do still have 3 polls live, so if you haven't had a chance to look at those, please do that. And we have a couple questions on here. Let's see. Quick. I'm just going to try and get through some of the quick ones. Danny, for the agents evals, which terminal were you using to run that?
I was just running it on VS Code.
Okay.
Yeah, like the whole experience is part of the CLI.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, and then do we have any plans for Flutter development? I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that one.
Flutter development, as in Dart version of ADK? I know it has been discussed. I do not know of a specific plan or roadmap for that. If that's a thing that you would love to see, start a discussion and maybe ping it to me or whatever, and I will share it around.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we are at 11:30. So, I know folks have stuff to drop for. I know we have some other questions on here as far as ADK Go performance and gRPC, Gemini CLI project. So we will get those answered. And yeah, just wanted to say thank you again to everybody who joined us today. Thank you to all of our presenters. You all did a wonderful job. We really appreciate it. And we will get this slide deck and all the links shared out to you. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.